Well, Liam, I know it's raining again, but how has training been this week off the back of that win against Oxford over the weekend?
Yeah, naturally you obviously get a bit of a bounce. Lads came in good spirits, and then we worked really hard again. Lost track of days, I think, because of the Sunday kickoff. It's thrown the week out a little bit. So yeah, we've been in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, putting a real shift. To be fair, the bits we've covered, the principles we wanted to go over, the bits we've revisited is a very similar process: win, lose or draw. Ultimately, it's about us improving.
In terms of team news, are we working with the same squad at Swansea as we did against Oxford last weekend?
Yeah, in terms of availability, I think we've 21's game on Monday away at Swansea. Rob Atkinson continued to get minutes. Ross McCrory got a half, which is good for him. George Earthy's had an extra 3 days of training, so we've got a few more that are coming back now into contention through recovering from injuries and getting back to a level of fitness where they're ready to compete. So yeah, we're like I said, we've got some good depth and some good competition.
You'll obviously be cautious with Rob Atkinson, but in terms of his step now back into the first team, how is that looking? Might it be after the international break we see him feature, or could he feature as recently as this Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's you have to be a little bit careful not to push him too quick too soon. I'm sure he'd be desperate to be playing right away, but I think in terms of, like I said, when you've missed 18 months and you've had the injuries he's had, I think speaking with the guys, you do want to build up what just keep saying in interviews, but like a volume of load, so repetition of being able to go 3 days consecutive training, being able to, I think he did 78 minutes on Monday, so keep building up match minutes, which again I think is really important. So he's definitely progressing. He's looking better all the time, and like I said, he'll be in contention soon.
I imagine George Earthy's been frustrated. He's come here to get some minutes and has been on the treatment table. Again, how do you see his path into the first team going? Because when he does come back and he's available, there's competition now.
Yeah, exactly that, and that's what we want. I think that's what you need. I think sure at the weekend, people stepping up, people grabbing opportunity, which is what you need. There needs to be pressure on people to perform, and then it's a case of players making the most of the opportunity when they're ready. Which again, I thought Naki was a great example of that at the weekend, of someone I know that frustrated at not playing as much as he'd want. But again, we've had numerous conversations in terms of, I know the importance of Naki and what he's going to bring. So I was delighted for him that he's been patient and made the most of the opportunity at the weekend. Same as George will be similar. I think there's people who came in at the weekend did extremely well. George extremely unfortunate. I think I thought he did really well in the first couple of games pre-injury. The minutes that he got and the impact he had. So the injury knocked him a little bit, but he's bounced back quickly. He's training. He's looked sharp. He's in a good spot. So we're delighted to have him back as well.
I was going to ask you about Naki. I'll do it now. Obviously, a lot of people probably expected Valley to come off the bench on Saturday, but you chose Naki. In terms of decisions like that, is it game management, what he brings, and I guess reiterate, Naki still has a very important role to play despite the forward options you have at the club.
Definitely on that one. He's I keep saying it, I've said it numerous times, I can't speak highly enough of him as a person and as a professional. Love working with him. I think he's top. His training level had been really, really high. I know I spoke to him after Blackburn in terms of, I know, like I said, frustrated at not playing, but kind of reiterated he's so important to the group, what he brings culturally, what he brings from an experience perspective, but also as a player, he's a top player. And you saw that at the weekend, aerial balls coming up, how he jumps into people, his movement, the timing of it, his composure in high pressure situations. The fact that the age he's at, the career he's had, he still demands the highest standards of himself and those around him, which speaks volumes about him. So I'm delighted, and any time the lads do well, I'm delighted for them. But especially someone like Naki, that's had to be a little bit more patient.
And we're going to speak to Hayden Roberts today, so his ears might be burning. But were you pleased for him that he obviously came in on Saturday? Maybe a bit of pressure on his own shoulders, if nothing else, but he took the opportunity, didn't he?
He did well, Hayden. I think, forget it's only his second game of the season, including pre-season. Picked up the injury extremely early, had missed all of the pre-season games, so it was actually only his second 90 minutes. So to come in and perform at that level was excellent. That's the challenge now for him and for everybody. That's the minimum that we expect. It's about hitting a level of consistency, and he did well. I thought some defensive bits we spoke around, but some of his attacking stuff I thought was excellent. Early crosses, joining in attacks, winning the penalty. Obviously, being in the position to be able to do that, he did some really, really good things. So it's a good base for him, and now it's a case of building on that.
And we spoke in length on Saturday about Yu Harikawa and what a fantastic impression he made on the City fans, how humble he was after the game, and also Ali videoed all the autograph hunters. A lot of people wanted his time. There must now be a temptation to start him. Is he ready both in terms of fitness and also Swansea away on a championship fixture?
Yeah, I think fitness-wise he's in terrific condition. Obviously the injury set him back a little bit, but again I think he had the added advantage that it was probably mid-season for him, given he'd come over having had a half season in the J League. So although he missed a period, he obviously had that base fitness from playing games regularly. So he's I thought it was a terrific performance. Coming on just gave everybody a bit of a lift. You could see his qualities, the variation in how he attacks. And that's what we want people to step on the pitch and just bring a buzz, bring an energy, bring a bit of personality, and he showed that at the weekend, and obviously the fans responded and enjoyed it as well as we all did. So again, of course he's in contention. He's like I said, he did well at the weekend. It's going away to Swansea is a different challenge, a different prospect, so it's something that we have to look at in terms of game plans, how we can hurt them and how we can get success. But as with all the lads, they're all in contention.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe his roles and responsibilities are slightly different away from home than at a home fixture, and is there another challenge then getting those messages through to him, given the language barrier?
Yeah, it will take time. I think that, of course, he did terrifically well at the weekend. Doesn't mean we've cracked it, he's cracked it, and it'll look like that every game. I think we're quite clear on that. There'll be some bumps along the way, as I'm sure, adjusting to what it looks like to go in Sunday, Wednesday next week. So, those bits take a little bit of time. So again, I think he's working hard on his English all the time. The staff do a great job sitting with him, showing him video animations of kind of how we play, what we want him to do, and then obviously we train it as well. So we try to cover all bases, not just for him but for all the lads. We had a call with a guy in the J League actually to get some language translated for football language. So trying to accelerate certain bits. So if we're shouting certain things and common language that we use, he hopefully learns those a little bit quicker than some of the other English aspects. But he's great to work with. Despite the language, he's got a big personality, and the group have been brilliant with him.
And how do you cope with the challenge of having conceded goals at Derby and Blackburn? Is that on your mind going into this game? Do you need to change things at all to maybe tighten up at the back, or was it down to individual mistakes that cost you in those away matches?
Of course we don't want to, but they're a few games ago now, right? In a few weeks. I think that's probably at the stage of the season. It's felt so slow. You go into this coming week and Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, and again, of course, we know we've got to be hard to beat. We've got to be defensively solid. We've despite conceding that number of goals, by Derby's second half, I didn't feel like even Blackburn away, we conceded 3 shots on target. It was the manner of them, which is on us again, I think. So of course you have to, any game, not just Swansea away, any game you have to be hard to beat. You have to be well organised. I've been really pleased with how we've pressed. I thought the press that we've done, consistently has been excellent. I think again, if you look at a lot of the goals, they've little mistakes, little errors, little things which we can tweak and improve to be better. So of course Sunday we'll go there hard to beat, which I think is really important. But that's the same as every game. And then it's the decision of how you do that. Is it a press? Is it a block? What does that look like?
Just looking from afar, Swansea appear to have had a good start to the season. Currently 7th. What kind of opposition are they? Are they evolving? Are they an improving Swansea maybe to the one you faced at Ashgate towards the end of last year? Yeah,
of course. I think Luke's got clear principles of how he plays and what he does, and they've transitioned obviously a few players. So of course you see it first half at the weekend. You can think you're in control of a game. You switch off for a second and you find yourself a goal behind, and that I think the margins are so tight from top to bottom of the Championship that any game's difficult. Any game, you have to be at your best. You have to be at your maximum, and probably the biggest bits I speak around are the focus element, the desire to compete, the intensity you work at, the bravery that you play with, turning up and making sure that you outwork opposition, you outfight them, and then you have the bravery to go and play and do us. That has to be the starting point and the basis of any game.
I spoke to Pat Lam yesterday at Bristol, and they've got Gloucester followed by Bath, and as soon as I mentioned Bath, he stopped me and said, no, I'm just thinking about Gloucester. But are you thinking about the week ahead, both in terms of the magnitude of the games, Cardiff and Swansea on Sunday, and I guess more importantly, managing the squad, because suddenly you're playing 3 games in 7 days?
No, all my energy is on Sunday. I think there'll be staff behind the scenes that will be doing work on Sheffield Wednesday and Cardiff, but where my energy goes has to be into this weekend. We have to give everything in our power to make sure that we go there and perform to the level we're capable of, and do everything we can to come back with a win.
And we talked about team news at the start. Just finish with a bit more team news. Ross McCrory, where's he at in his recovery?
Yeah, as I said, he played 45 on Monday, so he's he's now obviously back in terms of full training and built up in terms of had that 45. So again, he's heading in the right direction. Is another one that will come into contention soon.
And finally, Rob Dickie, how's he coming along in his recovery from injury?
Yeah, he's back out doing some really slow, steady work. He's still quite a way off, but he's been great. He's the meetings we actually gave him some tactical work to do. Sent him away with a game to analyse and come back and present to the staff and what he sees. So the work he did on that was tremendous, I thought. So he's in a good spot. He still has a big impact on the group. He still has a really important role to play, and he's one that we'll look forward to getting back. Thank you.
Just on Rob Dickie there, you mentioned that you sent him away and did some work. Is that something you've spoke about before in terms of a career after playing, in terms of coaching and managing?
Yeah, not just him. I think all the lads. I think you want my biggest bit. You want players to step on the pitch and understand the decisions they make and why. And again, I think that if some players need an element of freedom and off the cuff and not overthinking things. Other players like a Rob, I'd say, is extremely intelligent. Will think around what he does and why he does it and how he gets success, and we'll analyse. So again, we push the players to have a voice and to any of the meetings we do to step up and put forward and analyse what they see. And Rob's someone, obviously, stage of his career he's at and the experience he's got, who's definitely that. At some point, I'm sure will present, which again I think is another good life skill for the lads. It's not always easy standing up in front of a room of 20 or 30 blank faces looking back at you and trying to keep them engaged and focused. So again, I think that they're bits that we've done before that I think are good experiences for players.
I've watched plenty of Championship and League One games over the last couple of years, and a key trait I've seen is the captain and the manager's relationship is very good. In terms of the manager can say something to the captain and he's almost like a manager on the pitch. Is that something you like to do yourself with your leadership team, to be able to voice your opinions and then they can go on the pitch and do that?
Yeah, we run a leadership group. Again, I think it's something that will grow, evolve and develop. We're an extremely young group. I think that we're quite clear on that. I think that's why in terms of developing leadership and again, ultimately, the second we do all the work, we do all the preparation, we analyse and obsess on getting everything prepared best right for the weekend. But ultimately, the second the whistle starts, I'm there to support, to obviously make changes in game and tweaks and stuff. But ultimately, large chunks of it, the players are the ones that are driving it, delivering it, and are executing it. So for me, again, sometimes I end up venting emotionally for me more than probably the players because they can't actually hear me. So again, I think is a big part where you need players that are able to keep the lads aligned, that are able to shift momentum in games. So if you're up against it, how do you shift it back in your favour? Or if you're on top, how do you keep it that way? So 90's really stepping up and growing in those areas, as are some of the other lads, and that empowerment of the players to clear them how we play, but to have the confidence to make decisions in game, I think is really important.
Is that something that can bring added success this season potentially, when you've got that leadership group and then everyone sort of knows their roles and understanding what you want to do and what the leadership team want to do?
Yeah, I think we're quite clear on our identity. I think the challenge in games, I think you're never going to dominate start to finish. The perfect game doesn't exist. So when you're up against it, what do you do as a team? How do you keep everybody focused and on track and aligned? When you're, like I keep saying, when there's a shift and you all of a sudden you get control, you're ahead, you're behind, whatever moment of the game it is, it's how do you make sure that the 11 players on the pitch are doing the same thing, because that's ultimately the challenge in football. It's not always how good an individual player is. It's how does he fit around the others and how do they get on the same page.
You spoke about the under-21s game just a minute ago. How positive and how good is that for you that you've been able to see Ross McCrory, Rob Atkinson and Adam Murphy? I know he's an academy player at the moment, but how good is that to be able to give them minutes and use the under-21 side to enable their recovery back to first team football?
Yeah, big. I think the academy is a huge part of the now and the future and what we want to do. Again, speaking about the 21s, but you look at some of the lads that are out on loan. Jamie Knight-Labelle doing terrifically well at Crewe. The ones that are heading in the right direction. So that when you look at it, we've got some real depth in the academy that I'm excited in the near future. I'm sure there'll be some pushing through. So that the exposure for the 21s to play with seniors and see what that's like, and the same then I think there's a level of responsibility on the seniors to give back to the young ones as well. So again, I think we work really closely here with the academy, which is important. And yeah, the 21s is a terrific opportunity to reintegrate injured players back into first team football and build up intensity, match minutes, etc. So it's not just that, but also training the other way, where we'll regularly have 18s, 21s training with us, which is again a really important part of that part of their process in terms of trying to establish themselves as first team players.
We spoke about Hayden Roberts and his impact after the game on Saturday, and you spoke really highly of him. Obviously, it was his first league start as well. We can't forget that. And what's the competition like between him and Cam Pring? Because Cam Pring, he's been sort of the regular Championship starter over the last year, 18 months. What's the competition like?
Yeah, it's clearly there. I think that's the first bit. I think what we've got is a terrific group of lads that have a huge amount of respect for each other, which I think is really important. And then talk about Naki again, but it's understanding then, if you're not in the team, what do you do to get back in it? Because, what we've got is a really supportive group of staff that will work with the players and, trying to achieve that, because ultimately that's for me how it works. If you're at that level and someone's below it, how do you then, keep pitching them against each other to improve? Understanding that everybody then has to put the team first, and that's the biggest bit. Whatever anyone's individual motivations or objectives or aims are, you'll get that through the team being successful. So everybody, non-negotiable, has to put the team first. So Cam and Hayden's a great example of two really, really good players that are competing it out, that might play together at some point, but at the minute Hayden's pushed Pringy. Hayden's had to be patient for his opportunity, and then obviously did well when he got it at the weekend.
Is that a good selection headache for you to have?
Yeah, it definitely caused a lot of headaches, but I'd much prefer that. I'd much prefer to have to manage a group of really high-level players. I think back to when I first came in, we only probably had sort of 3 or 4 fit, what I deem senior players. We had some extremely talented young ones that were around it that might not have been ready, but I think what we've done a good job of is adding real competition and depth, and raising the bar. That's what we're trying to do, is improve the level across the club, and that for me, when I look at it, we've got some real good competition in the first team squad. On
to Swansea then on Sunday. It's obviously a local-ish sort of derby. Do derbies sort of change preparation, a bit of added spice to it?
Not for me. I don't think so. I think there's a real danger if you raise levels and drop levels depending on the game and the opposition. The bare minimum that I've said to the lads, and that's really important for everybody, we step on the pitch and we run as hard as we can and we fight as hard as we can, and they're the bare minimum. And we'll have good days, we'll have bad days, we'll get things right, we'll make mistakes, but it should never ever be through a lack of energy and effort. So again, that for me is the most important message, whether it's a derby game or whether it's not. I think you have to give everything every step on the pitch.
So for you then, it's literally same as normal, act like it's a normal game day for you then? Yeah,
definitely. I think you're definitely front foot, aggressive, take the game to the opposition. I think their behaviours and they're the identity that we want as a team. So again, I think let's practice being really good at that.
What have you made of Luke Williams and the job he's done there at Swansea?
Yeah, he's done a good job. I think when you look at it, I think they've had probably a few transitional periods if you look at the changes they've had in the last sort of 18 months, but he seems to steadied it and stable, brought a bit of stability to it, which I think is important. And yeah, they're another difficult opposition. I think like I said, he's got a real clear identity, which I have a huge amount of respect for, and then I think it's in a case of understanding that, but then trying to find a way of imposing ourselves on the game.